Alright, welcome. So today we have ANUBIS. He has been requested to do a Season 3 build video for us, so let's get right into it. Now, normally I talk about a god's abilities and how they matter into actually building ANUBIS, so there are a couple points that I do want to point out. For one, his passive says a lot, but basically when he does his abilities, which are all damage over time effects, he gains stacks, and these stacks give him protections, and as well as increased lifesteal scaling per stack. So with 2 lifesteal items, you can cap out at 65% magical lifesteal, which is a lot. And a lot of people do forget that he does get some protection, so he's naturally kind of tanky, because he kind of has to in order to be the mage that he is and be successful, because all of his abilities are kind of like close range, right? He doesn't have any escapes, so the lifesteal is very important to ANUBIS. Now, another big factor is with all of his damage over time effects, they make great use of, you can go to the Gem of Isolation, where it allows you to have an additional slow on your target, so it can be easier to hit your ultimate or whatever, and you can kind of build on top of the stacking slows with your 3 with Grasping of Hands. And that is pretty much it. One last thing I would say is cooldown reduction. Now, naturally his ultimate, it's pretty infamous for being up like all the time, because as you can see, as you level it up, the cooldowns do go further down. But the big thing is starting off, his cooldowns are really high for his base abilities, most notably Mummify. If you can't land your Mummify, it's super hard to really confirm your damage without having somebody else, try to confirm it with you with some hard CCs. So you kind of see some cooldown reduction items build for ANUBIS. He is a really good god to actually get at the cap 40% cooldown reduction without having to sacrifice a lot of power. So you can look for things like Pythagram's Piece, which provides 10% cooldown reduction, Chronos Pendant for 20%, and then you can sell your pin boots later on for cooldown reduction boots, and boom, you have 40% cooldown reduction. So those are the main points. Build some life steals, and cooldown reductions are helpful. Gem of Isolation is a nice flavor item, and that is pretty much it. So let's get right into it, actually building ANUBIS. Starting with Conquest, there are a couple different ways you can start with ANUBIS, but the most notable way would be just go into the Vamp Shroud, looking to just build off on your base lifesteal and just being a big sustained monster, because you kind of put yourself almost out of position, specifically if you want to try to use your 1 for mini clearing, and you're going to get hit quite a bit. So that having a lot of sustain with Vamp Shroud and lifesteal items is really key for ANUBIS. So you can go to the Vamp Shroud start, and then you can go into a tier 1 item for 550 gold called a Tiny Trinket. This offers 20 additional magical power and a 4% magical lifesteal, which you can build this later into Bancroft's Talon if you like that. Pythax, which is one of my personal favorites. It does a lot of, just overall has all the good stats that you need for ANUBIS, and he's also the perfect counter for high health regeneration gods like Shock, Vimana, Hercules, and also great against healers, obviously, with the Divine Ruin. Poly, not the greatest item. It's if you really want to push objectives like towers and phoenixes, things like that, then you would go Poly. But yeah, so for starting off, you can go into Vamp Shroud, Tiny Trinket, couple potions or whatever, and then I would personally go into boots first. I would go to the Shoes of Magi, looking for their early magical power spike up to 45, and then the 10 magical penetration. It's best in the early stages of the game. You can go into the Shoes of Magi. Now, the cooldown reduction boots, I normally get this like to replace your pin boots late game when you're full build, but if you prefer getting it right away, then sure, go ahead with that. So if you finish your boots if you're choosing, normally you go back to your Tiny Trinket, and it finishes up into like a Pythax or Bancroft's. Bancroft's is a lot cheaper, as you can see, so it's a cheaper way to get a lot of magical power, and you can somewhat make use of the passive. The general idea with Bancroft's is like you might get too low to actually benefit from Bancroft's. Typically, if you get really low, you just end up running away. You're not going to make huge use of the Bancroft's. So you can go into Pythax. Also, don't forget that the Ura stats actually apply to you yourself. So that 20 extra magic power and 10% extra lifesteal, that also applies to you. So I would definitely go to Pythax Piece. Again, Bancroft's is also decent. So I'll go to Pythax Piece. This will be your starting. Now, after this point, you have a few different routes you can go into. ANUBIS, I personally feel like there's a lot of different builds you can go for ANUBIS for different purposes and different playstyles. So there's tons of builds you can go with. Now, after the Shoes of Magi, if you want to go into a stacking item for Conquest or any like laning game mode like Siege, Clash, things like that, then this would be the time to do it, in my opinion. You can go to the Warlock Sash, looking to be a little bit more tankier, have a little bit more health, because you are, almost kind of out of position, you have no escapes. This can help you out there. Or if you just want to go for just sheer magical power, then you can just go into the Book of Thoth, and those would be your go to stacking items, and this is when you would get it. Now, if you don't want to get a stacking item, then you have a couple other options. If you do want to get the cooldown reduction, this is another good time to go into it. You can go to the Chronos Pendant if you want that, or if you just want to rush a really high magical power build, then you can go straight into pin, which the best pin item traditionally is the Obsidian Shard, super cheap, and 33% magical penetration is huge. He can get really good use of the Spear of Magus. The only thing is this is like lower magical penetration. This item is more seen as a really useful pin item for gods and players or team comps that aren't tanky at all. They're not really building any protections, and this will just shred them just completely. So those are the differences between those two, but traditionally you just get into the Obsidian Shard after you pick up your pin item of your choosing, and then you can rush right into the Rot's Hootie. This would be like a super like hyper aggressive early to mid game, like it's a really fast paced match, and you're not really looking to extend your build that further on. It'd be something like this, but again, there are different routes you can go into. If you want, like a lot of people like to double lifesteal, it can be super effective and annoying to play against. As long as you're not being counter build by like anti-healing and weakening, you could definitely run the double lifesteal build, and it would just be going into the Bancroft's Talon, which would be the next best bet. And this would be a double lifesteal. Then you go into your pin item, and then you can go into the Rot's Hootie. And then you can sell your Vamp Shroud to finish off one of these other items if you're choosing, or whenever you feel like you don't need it. And you can go ahead and buy one of the other items that you wanted to buy earlier. You can go to the Gem of Isolation looking for the health, and most notably, like I mentioned earlier, that 25% slow for 2 seconds. That 2 seconds keeps refreshing because all your abilities are damage over time effects. So if you stack this up with your Grasping of Hands, just like I said earlier, they're going to be slowed by like 50%. So that's pretty huge, and it can also help you aim your ultimate, chasing them down, things like that. So this could be a pretty decent build if you want to go into like a double lifesteal build. That's how that will look like. Again, you can always go into stack an item in the slot, or you can go Gem of Isolation in that slot, and things like that. So that's a couple of the builds that you can go into now. Something for arena, things look a little bit different, but still the same rules apply. You can go into the Shoes of Magi, and then I'll personally go into the Chronos Pendant right away just to get the most usage out of the cooldown reduction. And then you can go into your lifesteal item of your choosing here. Again, you can still go into double lifesteal in arena if you really want to. But the thing about arena, your base is not too far away from you, so you can, if you're looking just to get your health back up, you can just walk back to base. Versus Conquest, it's a really large map, and you don't want to go through the hassle of walking back to lane. So personally, double lifesteal items in arena might not be too useful. So in this case, you can go into your traditional Obsidian Shard, and since arena is typically a really fast match, you can go into the Rot's Hootie after your Obsidian Shard, and this would be like a really quick and easy build. You can go stack an item if you want to in arena, as long as people aren't clearing the way for you, or they can do it faster than you. If you want to go to stack an item in arena, it'd probably be in the item slot of Chronos Pendant at the latest, maybe Pythags. Now, Book of Thoth, you can buy this whenever you really want to because it's mana based, the stacks aren't too important if you're looking just to really bump up your magic power. For example, on level 20, 506 magical power, see at the bottom left hand corner, and you just buy this item and you just have like 690 magical power for no reason without any stacks. That's just the benefits of being level 20. So you can do something like that. And again, you can always go into the Gem of Isolation, Slow Reaver if you want to just get that, easy 15% of your life, of their life just gone. You can go into something like that. But yeah, so I did mention about the full cooldown reduction build, how that looked like for, Conquest sake. Let's run through that really quickly here. It'd be Pythags, go into your Shoes Magi, and you can just go into, the normal items. Go into the Rot's Hootie. And then you can just go into like the Chronos Pendant whenever you can fit it in, and then you just sell that and that. So for a full cooldown reduction build, it'll look like Pythags, cooldown reduction boots, and then the Shoes of Magi, or the Chronos Pendant rather. And that's your 40%. So that's pretty much it. If you're like maybe laning against another physical god, like let's say in the mid lane you're fighting against let's say maybe like a Neith, or if you're in the solo lane versus a hunter, then if for that case you can go into the Dynasty Plate Helmet. As you can see, it's super cheap and you have a lot of good stats for versing a physical god in your lane. So that'll look like going to the Imperial Helmet, then you can go into your boots, go back, and then go into your Dynasty Plate Helmet, and then you can just go into your lifesteal, and then your pin, and then your Rot's Hootie, and then last item, whatever you want. So this would be like, you know, against a physical god, and then you just sell Dynasty Plate Hamlet later on, because the stats don't really scale that well into late game. Sell it for, you know, whatever else. So hopefully that was kind of helpful, and just kind of providing a nice explanation for different builds and different items and how they're useful. As far as Relics Anubis, we all know he has no escape, so I'd recommend picking up the Purification and maybe the Sanctuary. Maybe you want to sprint in case, then you can go into that, but you definitely want Purification, although you are CC immune during your ultimate. However, you might not always want to waste it on that. Now, if you're really good and you want to make a lot of good plays, just have a lot of fun, you can go with the aggressive Blink. You can use this to go ahead and Blink and then Mummify Wrap, and they won't see that coming, and it can be easy for you to land your Mummify and just really confirm a lot of damage. So again, that hopefully that helps. Just provides, you know, a lot of different ideas for different builds. Again, Anubis, he's really flexible on his builds, from being a little bit more bruiser with Breastplate and like Warlocks or Go Double Lifesteal, things like that. So I'll see you guys next time. Peace.